Well, I show 145, so to keep the program moving forward, now we're going to experience an interactive workshop which will focus on steps to starting and maintaining an entrepreneurship program at the community college. A couple of the topics and leaders here, building community support, Tim Putnam is going to join us again. Funding opportunities and finance, Otis White will join us as well. And then an entrepreneur's perspective on resources, and this would be Dave Roy with Guidance Aviation. A little bit about Dave. He's a graduate of Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Dave Roy manages flight instructions in 2 locations, in Prescott, Arizona and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He's also responsible for Guidance Robust Marketing Program, and additionally, he is heavily involved with FAA relations, collegiate contract development and negotiations, and the day-to-day facility operations. So I'm going to turn it over to Otis.
Thank you, Corey. I appreciate that. Some years ago, 2.5 years ago, NACCE sponsored a special program funded by the Mott Foundation that chose 11 colleges to come together and work for 2 years on developing a toolkit that the colleges in the NACCE system and outside the NACCE system, those to come, could use in order to build entrepreneurial programs, ranging from just academia and teaching curriculum to incubators, the whole span of activities that these colleges could join up on. Tim Putnam and I were part of that process. And what we're going to work on this afternoon is an outgrowth of that. Each of you, as colleges, those of you representing colleges, have received a copy of the VIN toolkit, which is the spiral bound report. It was our final product. You can imagine 11 colleges all trying to write one document. It was interesting. So there are a lot of ideas. Before we start, though, what I'd like to do is ask Dave to come to the podium and talk about the partnerships that he experienced and the company experienced as they began to come online as a new entrepreneurial venture, and what partnerships were important to them and how they used them in order to become successful. Dave?
Thank you, Otis. I'm representing John Stonecipher, who couldn't be here. As was mentioned earlier, his mother passed away rather suddenly. But I've been with the company now for 5 years and has seen quite a bit of growth and have been involved on many levels, and I want to discuss that this afternoon. John started the company in 1998. It was just himself and a single helicopter. And it has now grown to, we've got about 65 employees. We've got 22 helicopters now. We've got 3 airplanes. As was mentioned, we operate both in Prescott, Arizona and in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We have a partner with Yavapai College there in Prescott, and we're also working with Baton Rouge Community College there in Baton Rouge. We've grown from a small business to I think we're going to do about $15 million this year, and we're on track to far exceed that next year. We fly about 15,000 hours. We're pretty close to that, and that's quite a bit of flying if you're particularly flying helicopters, not airplanes. We talk a little bit about who our students are. Most of them are veterans. About 80% of our students are veterans using the post 9/11 GI Bill program, and the rest are people from all over the country. We bring in people to train as pilots. They become flight instructors. They usually work with us for about a year to a year and a half, and then they go on to either the tour industry. They'll go on to mostly the Grand Canyon. We supply the pilots for the Grand Canyon, for Las Vegas, for a number of areas in Hawaii, and our Baton Rouge operation is specifically designed to train pilots that are in the oil and gas industry. Let me backtrack, though, a little bit and talk about how we got where we are. And I have to say, first and foremost, our partnership with the SBDC, and I want to really acknowledge Janice and her network for their support and everything that they've done. We've got Kurt and Alex here from Yavapai College. Yavapai has been a phenomenal partner for us and really enabled us to grow to the point where we are today. The partnerships really are the key to what has given us our growth and our ability to work within the community. I'll give you an example of that. One of the things that John believes very strongly, and that is to give back to the community. He recently donated, it was about a year and a half ago, a helicopter to the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, which did not have any aircraft other than an old Cessna airplane. We rebuilt the helicopter with RICO funding, put that together with pilots that are employed by us and have been deputized by the sheriff. The program has been very successful. I think we're between, I believe it's 19 folks that have been saved from that program since it's been started. Yavapai County is a huge county, one of the largest in the country, and didn't have a helicopter to this point. So again, an example of community partnership that has been very, very successful. We do a number of things. Obviously, being in the helicopter business, we're able to do some very unique things. We bring Santa Claus into the schools. We were talking about that a little earlier. We fly all kinds of strange missions where we support bike races and wakeboarding events at Lake Powell. We have a houseboat up there where we do overwater landing and vessel landings in training for the oil and gas industry. Anyway, our success has been really because John hires people that he trusts, and he lets them do their job. And I think that's really the kind of the key to what we do and how we do it. And as I said, the partnerships that we have specifically with the college have just been phenomenal. The college is now co-sponsoring a rally car for us. They've painted it in their automotive shop. They're welding a roll bar for it. And we're going to race it in the Prescott Road Rally, which is part of the California Rally Series. Students love this stuff, and we have a strong social network and online presence, and that's where we bring in a lot of our students. We advertise nationally and through the internet and a number of different social media channels. I've got a team of people that work for me who blog, who tweet, who do all those things. I don't do it. I don't do any Facebook, but these people work for me, and they do a phenomenal job. And it's a vital part of what we need and what they do for us. So those of you out there that are teaching the marketing, I love the idea of a storytelling class. It's perfect. That's the kind of thing that we need in our employees. Anyway. That's essentially it. We work very closely with our foundation. We donate $1,000 to everybody who graduates from our program. We donate to our foundation, and we've got a great relationship with the foundation at Yavapai College, and they've been fantastic. As I said, we're very pleased and honored to work with Yavapai College, and again, I apologize that I'm the stand-in for the guy that really did all of this, but I appreciate the time to tell our story and to be here with y'all. So,
Dave, can you share a couple of things about some of the partnerships that your company worked with, and whether it's the SBDC or even business or industry specific?
Yeah, and I guess one point that's really important for this group specifically is that once working with the SBDC, Fred Kennedy, who again is also not here today, but he was instrumental in helping John achieve the state award for Small Business Association, and then later for the national award earlier this year. We went to Washington. He was awarded that by the secretary. The SBDC has been just a phenomenal resource for us, and have been there for all kinds of things. From the last couple of years, we've used them for consulting on a number of levels, and have just been very, very helpful. We hire a number of consultants, business development consultants. We hire experts again for social media. And one of the things we're going to really work with Yavapai on is, again, supporting our marketing efforts. We spend a lot of money on marketing, and we reap those benefits. And to have that expertise is very, very important. Our community partnerships, not only with the college but with the city of Prescott, have just been amazing. So we're very, very again, very pleased. I'm trying to think. I know we've done, and we've got a number of very innovative programs out there. We're sponsoring a flight around the world in a small Cirrus aircraft that has established student command centers at high schools around the world. There's over 40,000 students that are involved in it, but they're going to be solving aviation problems, from weather to international relations to aircraft performance. That's been a very, very interesting and innovative program for us. That'll launch in April of 2014, and it's just to create interest in aviation. You know, and one of the things that John believes very strongly in, and we all do, is that since the space program is kind of wound down, there are a few programs out there that get kids excited about science and about aviation and aeronautics specifically. And I have a degree, a bachelor's and a master's in aeronautical science, but they're kids that just don't they don't have that science background. And I should say too that I did cut my teeth on communications within a community college in Massachusetts, and I've used those skills within the community college through my whole career, from being able to understand our needs for media, video, radio. All of those things have been very, very helpful. So the community college world in supporting our business has been just fantastic. So
Great, Dave. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, what we hope to do for this next hour is really walk through, again, some group work on community partnership mapping, really look at the ecosystems in your area. Otis and Dave are going to kind of walk around and help in that conversation. Then towards the end, we kind of want to report out. So first, I want to thank Janice for really getting the start, as her exercise really led really well into this next part, which I'm not sure if that was planned or whether that's... Of course it was planned. Oh, Otis did. So obviously it was planned. So it's kind of worked really well. So kind of want to go through a couple of things. So I'm going to steal something else from Janice, instead of strategic planning, it's intentional planning. You know, when you pull out an iPhone or your phone and you type in, and you pull up the maps, what do you need to know? Where you are and... Okay, or actually, if I pull up an iPhone, I actually get off the iMaps and go to MapQuest or something. So yeah, you need to know where you're at and where you're going. That's the essence of what we're really trying to do here. For some folks, you know, this is a real natural process, but others, you know, it's much more complicated. You know, I look at where we're at in North Iowa. You know, if we weren't doing it, nobody else would be doing it. Am I getting some echo, or are we getting echo out there? You know, and then in ecosystems like this, it can be very rich in Phoenix, but again, the outlying areas, it's like, what's going on? You know, in Iowa, we have pockets of really good partnerships and pockets where nothing's going on, and how do you reach out to them? And I think with a broad ecosystem and learning from each other and really putting things together, I think good things can happen. So first of all, does anybody really want to define what a good partnership is? Todd, your name tag says community partnership. So I mean, could you maybe define what makes up a good partnership?
Well, I think a good partnership is defined when You can collaborate with another organization and both sides benefit.
Okay.
So you both bring something to the table and you get together for a common purpose, and you both bring something to the table that increases the outcome that you would have had you not collaborated.
Okay, great. Can anybody else add to that? Anything missing from that? Common metric. Again, people sharing the common metric. At the end of the day, what's going to be accomplished. So a little bit caution to look at ecosystems and mapping is when they're just mental notes or mental models. They're not absolutes. Again, we're not talking about a ecosystem. We're talking about sets of ecosystem. And I will say, when we get into ours, I have put the community college at the center, only because that's where we've been looking at this from the community college perspective. So really anybody could be at the center. Maybe nobody's at the center of the ecosystem, but whatever organization you represent, that's really your starting point. Who do you want to reach out and connect with? Also, we'll get into the different circles that are on there. Size of the circle, somebody got really worked up. We want the size of our circle to be as big as this one. The size of the circle, there's no relevance there. So again, what do we do with them? What should we do with them? What can go wrong? What can go right? There's a lot. It can be very messy when you get into this ecosystem. The 101s, again, is it misunderstood? Again, it can be very non-political correct. Is there a common wealth of knowledge out there from people to work with? Again, we talk about the messy piece, the dynamics, the interconnected, filled with humans, and when individuals start working, it can be very messy, or it can be very strategic, and a lot of great outcomes can come from that. Flow of resources, where are the gaps, or what are the non-gaps? Where are you doing really well? And I think that's what community colleges do very well. We help fill the gaps, and we do so very efficiently and very quickly to do that. That's what's great about this system, or the folks here today, is that I think we really identify some common gaps that are out there. I think we can take care of that right away. We've got the right people here. We've got the people at the top, people in the middle, and the people out there doing the work, having the conversations every single day. How many of you are familiar with Brad Feld's information he's wrote? A few folks. So he has kind of two principles. Bottom up is that entrepreneurial ecosystems need to be driven by the entrepreneurs. They're the ones that understand what's going on and what needs to happen. I don't necessarily agree that they're Brad Feld's pretty passionate. It's like the entrepreneur. They're the only ones that can do it. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think community colleges, some other support services can lend a big role to bringing people together. But again, if you can get the entrepreneurs out there leading it, you can gain a lot of ground on that. Just as we heard with John's business, John Stillfire's business as well. That's very interesting. And then inclusive. It needs to include everybody. Not that everybody fits together, but everybody needs to know where they belong. So if you're a mom and pop shop, what ecosystem do you belong in? If you're a high growth business, what ecosystem do you? So everybody belongs. Again, we need to find a place for them to belong. And then the macro look at this, and then you can come across the cycle of people that want the world domination. It's all about them. It's they're partnering with you so they can get out of you something for themselves, and those are people you got to really be careful with. So how well can we see this right here? So this is getting into some of the work that we did with the virtual incubation network. And I'm going to call on my partner, Tim Matan, to kind of really talk about the bigger picture of what the VIN toolkit is really doing. I think we got an example of one. Then one note, I understand there's a few folks that did not get a toolkit. If you can get your business card to Otis, he will make sure you get the connectivity for that. So again, we apologize for not having enough toolkits here. Also, if you want to, you can just Google it. This is all online. The URL is real messy. So if you just actually Google this reference right here, AACC Virtual Incubation Network Toolkit, that will pull up the PDF files on the AACC website. So Tim, can you give us a big picture of how the toolkit was designed and who should use it and when?
There we go. Can you hear me? Okay. The VIN toolkit was designed, like I said, there were 11 community colleges, and Otis, Tim, and I were some. So you'll see references to NIACCE, Southeast, and Rio Salado in there. It is designed for two different types of readers. There's the leader, who needs to understand what virtual incubation can do for them, and then there's the person that actually does the work. Sorry, leaders. That's how we described it. And in the front of the book, everything that's written for the leader is designated with an L, and somebody, I think it's an S, is for everybody else.
Staff, yeah.
Correct?
Staff, correct.
So staff. You'll also notice as if you go through the VIN that we all had to diagram like this. And Tim made a point. If you look up Mott Community College from Michigan, they actually put their Economic Development Center in the center of their model, and they are part of economic development. So it doesn't matter where you are or what you think, it's how you fit into the puzzle and how you all work together. So if you look at everything that's designed in the VIN project, it's there for certain types. Now, granted, it is not a full-blown pick this up and you'll know how to do incubation. You have to actually make sure that it will fit into your system. You have to create your own portions of it, and it will help you help guide you if this is the direction where you want to go. Plus, the 11 community colleges are all there for support. Did I forget anything?
Very nice, Tim. Thank you. So the first part of mapping, as we said, you need to know where you're at. So this is kind of an inventory process to really determine, one, who you're on the left-hand side is really who are your clients, who is it that you want to serve, and then start listing out the services that you do provide and those services that you want to provide or you need to provide to them. So it's really a quick inventory, and this has a whole list of all kinds of different programs that could happen. It could be a very rich environment, or it could be you could be at the very beginning of it and you just have a few assets. Again, small beginnings, slow starters, nothing wrong with that. Whatever you do, just do it very well. So this is actually what our center looks like. We kind of format this a little bit different with the student entrepreneur, the existing small business owner, and the small business startup. Again, the list of our services are listed there. And then doing this inventory is important. So again, here you can even start reaching out and bringing in your continuing ed department. You can bring in your economic developers to really start mapping this piece out. And this really gets into the broader ecosystem. So again, really these lines are very interconnected. Actually, these lines should be going all different directions. But again, from our perspective, we looked at this from the community college, and for these summits, we've really been looking at the center. So by no means should community colleges be at the center. It could be a number of different organizations. Again, the size of the bubble does not matter. So again, we have a very rich ecosystem, but I would say most of these are not true partnerships. Where we have an MOU written, where we both have money in the game. Many of these are affiliations, relationships that we have, and those are very good. But many times those relationships, there's not enough accountability for us to always live up to what we say we're going to do on both ends. If you truly formalize a partnership, get a grant together. Again, grants usually force metrics, force you to report out, force you to put a final report together. Shared incomes, leveraging money. The only time you get a challenge grant out there to bring other people into it, probably one of the best kind of grants. Again, ask somebody for some money to run a program. You're going to get some different responses than if you just said, hey, should we do this? Oh yeah, you should do this. How about should we do this and give me $100,000? Changes that whole conversation. So again, our center's been doing this since, again, if I look back at 2000 when I came on board, we probably have a couple bubbles out there, and we're pretty much on an island out there, and not a lot of connectivity with these. Here's Catawba Community College in North Carolina, fairly rural. Again, a little bit more simple partnerships. They're really just getting going in this, but again, they're moving in very strong in a lot of different directions. And here's what Long Beach's system looked like, what Tim's looks like. Again, a lot of I think Tim mentioned this morning. Rural, urban. We have more similarities. When serving entrepreneurs, there's more similarities than differences. I think some of the partnerships, like Long Beach, is not going to be a partner with USDA. In the rural market, that's a very, very strong partnership with USDA. Here's Long Beach's. One thing with Long Beach, something that I thought was unique about them was the important role that their local elected officials play. Their local, way I understand it, their local elected officials are kind of the front door to get into the businesses. If they want to get reelected, they found that having the relationships with their small business owners is one of the best ways to do it. So again, they to get the word out about what Long Beach is doing, they work very strongly with their elected officials. Again, they get it out to their constituents and get participation. I found that to be a very interesting relationship, one that doesn't necessarily work in our region, while our we just had an election. It was pretty divisive, us versus them, and glad that's over. But again, we have some elected officials that really do understand what we're trying to do and understand that small business is a way for economic growth. Here's one for Santa Fe. Santa Fe is a very creative class, very simple. Again, they're really trying to serve the artists, the potters and stuff like that. So this is very simple. Again, they're more about connectivity and some real basic courses. Very high education level there. So people come in with a great world of knowledge, and it's about how you connect them together. So, and then their Santa Fe is what theirs looks like. So this might be a Flagstaff, maybe more what Flagstaff looks like, maybe not. And then again, this pipeline that showed, how do entrepreneurs, how do you navigate this barrier? Start creating this. How does one person get from one step to another? We hear the principles of no wrong door, one-stop shops. Again, I don't know if that's always true. My boss and I always argue. He wants a one-stop shop. I'm like, Jane, we can't do everything. He goes, well, we can bring everybody in and build our kingdom here. I'm like, yeah, we can, but should we? To us, it's how do we make those warm handoffs to folks and hand them off? So again, you may have part of this. Again, I think community colleges we can fill. We have to fill the pipeline. In Iowa, we have the brain drain. So in our rural area, we got to get more people thinking about this. We think at the end of the day, we want more young people to stay in our region and create businesses. Or even take over businesses. Succession planning is a real big deal in our area. Again, who's going to take over those generational businesses? Many times the kids don't want to, but how about an employee there? And we've had several very successful attempts at actually doing some succession planning. So again, map this out. What does this look like? And again, these models, again, there's all kinds of models. Again, this is about as simplistic of a model you can get. If you're really into much more complex interdynamic, I had a couple other ones from Utah that we could have put up there. And if you map entire ecosystem, they look pretty darn messy. So with this, external partnerships. Start with the people. Again, I think this session I think we've already had this conversation. I think Janice really got this going with this well. So what I really want to do is jump right into the mapping at your tables and really talk about, what is it that you're doing and who is it that you want to be partnering with next. So this first section here, again, just identify one of the target audiences. Maybe you want to do all three. Maybe there's some that's not. Again, these are just the three that I know NIACCE that we work on. So again, in the white are the programs that we offer, TAs, technical assistance. In the red are things that we want to get doing. Next year in the spring, we actually want to do a startup weekend. So we're starting. I just met a woman here who's doing Annette, right? Up in Flagstaff, who is a certified trainer of startup weekends. So we really want to talk about her. And at NACCE, talk about connectivity. I sat and had breakfast with the CEO of Startup Weekends, and he aspirated and about choked to death, so I got a nice story to tell about him. But again, it's about connectivities, and people you meet can really help lead to meaningful relationships. And then how do you formalize that partnership? So map out, what you are doing and really what you want to be doing or what you should be doing. And maybe you provide those services, it may not. And then really the next piece is kind of going to these bubble charts and take over your small business, put that at the center, and then what needs to be delivered to those people? What are all those programs? And then the final part is actually who's actually providing these services. Now, the key part, I think if you look at all the partners in our community, you'll find that there's people that you have very strong relationships. You can call that kind of a hot relationship. But you also look at at other programs. They may be getting a lot of numbers, but they may not be a very good program. They may not be really servicing the customers well. Maybe a very high cost, maybe a for-profit model that may be not servicing the clientele that you want to service. So again, so measuring the depths and the scope, and also the other piece I just mentioned is how well are people really doing the services. So the depth is it's a formal outcome, a hot-based partnership or awareness of the relationship. Again, if it's a very hot, you're doing a lot of work together, it's going to be a red. If you're doing very little work, but you need to be doing a lot more, it could be a cold relationship. Or maybe it's a cold because you don't want to have a relationship. They're not really servicing your clients, your students, the way that they really need to be serviced. So let's really just jump in our groups. Otis, I, and Dave are going to walk around. Tim Matan, he's very good at this too. Tim could probably walk around. And then what we want to do is really at the end is get each table to report out kind of what are your findings, what are your next steps with this. You may focus a lot on what are the programs, or you may focus on what really needs to happen in your ecosystem. And Janice, do you want to make any comments at all about partnering? And I mean, you were telling me about a very clear vision of where you want to go, and some people are there, some people aren't. Do you want to take a second or two and comment on this?
No, not really, Tim.
Okay. I know that's not true.
No, we were just talking about how a lot of people are in the organizations or positions, but not everybody kind of sees it the same way. But when you meet somebody that has the passion, that recognizes the benefit of getting bigger things accomplished by working together, and they're willing to put forth the time and energy and to develop the relationships and the partnerships, then it's worth it. That's when you get a chance to do it. So is that?
Great. Yep. Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah. So it's really a great opportunity here, and hopefully we'll leave with some things that we can take and implement some actions around.
Okay. Very good. Well, let's take some time to start working your groups. Again, start with who do you want to serve and what's being offered in your area. So there'll probably be multiple different maps going out your table. I know these are very integrated tables, which I think is brilliant on Otis's and the organizer's part to mix you up. So you're not sharing all the same ideas. So I'll shut up and let you guys start working on this.
When I was in the community college leadership program, we had a president come and speak to us who was known for being entrepreneurial as a community college president. And he shared something with us that has always resonated with me, and that was that and maybe it was because it was a formula and math is my background. He said, here's a formula for you guys to think about. Money plus people equals power. And the power part, not necessarily the muscle strength, but the ability to accomplish things and to move things. And he says, I can tell you right now, as future college presidents, you're going to be short on the money. So you better load up on the people part. And coming in as a new president, I'm getting to know our existing partners, and I'm also making an effort to make new partners. And it's not always about the money. It's about forming a relationship to friend raise. And sometimes it turns into something, sometimes it doesn't. And in the short time that I've been here, for example, I've formed a new relationship with one of our community partners, and since having met this individual, he's contacted our college and says, I've got somebody who wants to have a philanthropic footprint in Maricopa County and is interested in having a conversation with you. And I've said he can walk all over our campus. And so, whether that means actual dollars, whether it means equipment, whether it means an opportunity for our students to have a place where they can have the experiential learning take place, I think that those are great. And we serve by meeting whatever their needs are.
Okay.
So that's what a partnership means to me.
Dr. Gonzalez, thank you. Dr. Bustamante, is every partnership good? Should we go out there and partner with everybody? What's the strategic side of this? What does that look like?
Well, all of Stephen's partners would be good for me to partner with, I'm sure. Take them away from him. But, no, I don't necessarily think so. I think we're trying to all leverage our resources. There are more diminished resources now than ever before. And so partnerships are even more important to leverage relationships, leverage programs, but it's got to be strategic. So if there was anything I would leave you with, it would be strategic about your partnerships, because not every partnership is meant to be.
meaning that, what value do you get from the partnership strategically? Does it contribute to your outcomes and your strategic plan and what you're trying to accomplish for your community? What is your niche? For Rio Salado College, we have a number of them, but one of the big ones is online. So if you're trying to do something online, we are usually a good partner for that, depending on what it is that you want to accomplish. But if it's healthcare kinds of partnerships, it might be Stevens College that would be better aligned for that. So then we would partner with Stephen and the client to provide some of those courses online, some on the ground at Stephen's place or Dr. Gonzalez's place, as well as within that individual business. It could be a hospital, for example. So being strategic about it, I think, is more important than anything else relative to where we're going in the future and what we need most today.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Bustamante. So can we get a couple of tables kind of talk about what's the conversations that you're having? What are the sticking points? What direction is this going down? Are you looking at other maps and trying to replicate other maps in the VIN toolkit? Does anybody want to kind of talk about the conversations you're having at your table right now? I'm going to call on somebody.
Don't be shy.
How about this is the biggest table right here. So let's start here. What are your conversations? What are you guys talking about?
Well, we're trying to figure out what's going to work for Phoenix College, and we don't want to duplicate what's going on as far as we really feel like non-credit offerings would be very important to do for those interested in opening a business, but we feel that non-credit piece, and that might be logical for the corporate college. We also know that we have an incubator very close by with Gateway, so we wouldn't want to duplicate that initiative, but we do see some niches for us, and it did appeal to us to actually become a member of NACCE, so that we have, Yahoo, there you go, so that then there are grant opportunities. So we see that as a leveraging point for Phoenix College. We also would like to host a representative of the SDCE on campus, and we are opening a new Veterans Center, and we felt like that might be a good niche area to concentrate on because a large percentage of veterans or their spouses actually become small business owners. So that's another little avenue. We also have a lot of student clubs. Just looking at niches within our own college that we could really perhaps get them to know more about import-export expertise, the PTAC training that can take place as well. So trying to customize it to meet our needs. We also are getting our business students club. It's being reactivated, and there is going to be some contests, et cetera, and one of the contests is on entrepreneurship. So we feel like that might be a niche as well for us at Phoenix College.
Okay, great, thank you. You mentioned duplicating with Gateway, and I'm not knowledgeable of your entire ecosystem. So if Gateway has a good incubator, how can you work with them to leverage that for your students? So you don't want to duplicate it, but why not? If it works, why wouldn't you want to duplicate it? Or if they, it's for the general audience, it's not a specific, but for a lot of different programs, how can you embrace and make that even a better program by feeding students there?
We would definitely send and work with Gateway to make sure that if they've maxed out and hit capacity and there's room for growth, then we would like to be a sister provider. But I think it's important that we make sure that Gateway is robust and growing and is at capacity before it's either grown at Gateway or that there's a sister effort at a very close by college.
Okay, great, thank you.
May I add to that?
You may.
This conference is a result of South Mountain Community College and Rio Salado Community College working together and putting together the agenda, putting together the ideas, arranging the schedules. The colleges working together can get a lot farther than the colleges working against and in competition with each other. And I think we're all beginning to see and realize that in our district, and especially in entrepreneurship, which is not only multi-college, but multidisciplinary at the same time. It's not a matter of business should own this. No offense to my brothers and sisters. This should be owned by art, humanities, English, sciences, technology, and everyone else. It's a universal concept. that kind of goes beyond the traditional silos and structures that we have. So that's part of what we're working on in terms of trying to work together to bring these kinds of opportunities to the table for our district.
How about another table? Who'd like to talk about conversation you're having there? How about the table right behind you there, Otis? What are your guys' conversations?
Okay, we took the assignment a little bit differently. We selected a target group and talked about services we might offer to them. We have just received a small grant for $15,000 to work with re-careering seniors. There's many persons that are going to be in our community that have retired, but they'd want to have maybe a different approach to what to do within the next years of their life. And we were talking about some of the services we need to offer to them. And we started out with doing the career inventory of their talents, getting their paperwork together, because perhaps it's been a long time since they've done that. And just because we have your history of your career doesn't necessarily mean that coincides with your interest. So an interest inventory for them would be the next thing. And then if they're in our community, new or otherwise, they need to be sure they have a good understanding of the community and the market and where we can get these data. A lot of it's provided by the community college and our economic development area foundation. And then we ran out of time, but then we started moving into bird in the hand. So as you're walking them through this thing, okay, like beginning, where have you been? What would you like to do? What do you think you'd like to do here? And what have you got to start with?
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, one of the things we were talking about was possibility of getting an incubator program started. Now, we don't have divine guidance at this point to tell us what to do, but we're just talking about it after being here for today's session. So one of the things that we're looking at is not only who we're going to bring to the table, but then how we're going to do it in such a way that it is successful from the very beginning. How we're going to spread the wealth, bring in the right partners that are going to allow us to make the decisions and changes that we need to before we ever start the program, if you will. We have a regional economic development group up there called the Real Arizona Corridor that's trying to bring people and businesses, industry up to our area of the White Mountains. So we not only have to work with them, but with the SBDC, because we have a very strong, with Tracy and our group up there, we have a very strong adaptation to help us make this work. But then we're also looking at all the different industry partners as well as state, federal, and local and county entities to bring in as well. So we're still trying to determine how that's going to work.
So would your incubator be for the community, student focused, both?
It would start at, kind of like we heard earlier today, I think it would start at first to be community. Okay. Because we just got, as part of the Get Into Energy grant, we got the mechatronics program up at our college, at Northland Pioneer College. And we're hoping that we can help develop that to help bring some new people up into our area and maybe even an incubator program with that. Okay.
I know from our incubator, probably one of the mistakes that we made, a community-based incubator, we didn't get community buy-in, meaning money. I mean, it was all our money and some grant money. So as we've struggled with it as of recent, we have a struggle with space. College needs some more space. We have some space that's, we're not at 100% capacity. So without having our communities bought into it, they have no incentive to move people. And our region looks like one of these maps. Mason City's at the center of our rural communities. Why would a rural community want to send somebody to Mason City? Because we're the big, metropolitan, and big, relatively speaking, metropolitan area. So if the entrepreneur comes there, they're going to stay there. That's their mentality. So there's not a win-win in the eyes of our outlying communities to support our incubator, which is a brick and mortar. That's why the virtual incubation is very good, but some people do need space with that. So get buy-in. My point is get buy-in from your communities financially as well, or economic developers or chambers or somebody.
Right. Well, we also look at the fact that we have a possibility that the brick and mortar is already set. So we might actually accidentally walk into that area and say, "You're not using this. How about if we do?"
Yeah.
I can one, do a feasibility study, like Tim said. We did a feasibility study before we did ours, but be happy to help you with anything that you might need, any materials, any conversations, anything like that, because incubation, in my opinion, was a very good move for us to do. It made sense. It was something that our community wanted. And then it was all the partnerships around us that actually helped make it good. But you have to have a lot of that developed before you open the doors. Some people make the mistake that they're given a building and say, well, we need to open an incubator. Well, it's not going to work unless you have all the processes in place. So I'll be happy to help you out.
Thank you, Tim.
Any other thought?
May I share one quick story? We went to Green Bay, Wisconsin, which, by the way, considers itself urban. They do have that Packard Stadium. And one of the things they talked about was this project that they had where there was a closed school. I believe it was a K-12 school out in the countryside. I'm getting this right? And they went in, and this kitchen, already FDA approved, production kitchen, was inside this school. And so they sat and they did a feasibility plan and talked about, there's lots of people who have recipes from Aunt Hilda and, Granny Mo and all these other folks. And if they could get these to market, they'd be able to sell them to folks because the salsa's delicious and the jellies are delicious. They actually gave us a bunch of this to try, and it was delicious. These are wonderful recipes. And they actually built an incubator out of an unused space for a really low cost that served this community where people could go in and, for example, if they were in the muffin business, there were muffin baking ovens. I'm not a cook. My son's a chef, but that's all as close as I get. And they had this wonderful facility that people could then use to do their commercial business. A lot of states have rules and laws about you can't cook in your kitchen and sell it. I think we might even have one of those kinds of laws, and they did too, and this was a way around that. And so having that strategic plan and finding those resources and putting them to new use really worked well for them.
And I understand we still have another president here that I missed, Dr. Johnson Bia. So again, what are your thoughts on this, on the entrepreneurship and partnering?
Greetings from Tucson. I think the group here at this table, we're from Pima Community College. Excuse me, I'm overcoming that cold, so bear with me. Some of our discussions actually focused on maybe taking another look at some of our existing programs. Example, we have HEC-B. Okay, some of the earlier discussions about the entrepreneurship, that 6 course or 6 credits, whatever it was. How can we capitalize on that and perhaps incorporate it as an add-on? As an example, at Desert Vista campus, we have the early childhood education, a lot of CDA. It extends far reach into the community. How can we capitalize on that? We have a culinary program with a lot of baking and other things taking place. Perhaps there would be a way to build some of those in. So that's some of the academic side. And we have one of our faculty members from one of our campuses here who were talking about how can we revisit that, take another look at some of our programming. Then we have the workforce and business development. How can we reach into the community with our existing businesses? And then a service to those folks, either as credit, non-credit, or a combination. And we even got to the extent of perhaps some co-teaching. So I thought we had a wonderful discussion, and we'll certainly be taking advantage of all that we have been able to glean today. So thank you very much.
Great. Thanks for being with us this afternoon as well. let's go ahead and continue working on the mapping. And let's get to the final diagram where you're really looking at who are some of the outside partners that are actually delivering some services that you would like to partner with. And let's have those conversations. Also make a note that all these PowerPoints will be available. Otis, right? You'll be, and how will they get them?
Just give me your, what I'll do is easier on the map. And I'll just attach the then workbook in PDF form.
And also, Otis, I'm Karen Michelle, and I'm with NACCE, and I've been live blogging all day. So I'll be sure that I'll give everyone an access to that link so you can see all the wonderful content that's been going on, and then we'll also attach the slides. So thank you.
I believe we have about 10 minutes, 12 minutes left. So let's have a few conversations again about the outside organizations that are delivering services and who are some of those that you could be partnering with.
One of the approaches that we took in looking at the existing organizations in our communities, and a lot of these have already been mentioned, the chambers of commerce, which are very active in our communities, the economic development departments of cities and towns are very active. We have some existing incubators, for instance, in the city of Chandler that we could be working with. But looking at a more macro view, we have the potential of partnering with people like the East Valley Partnership, which cuts across a lot of communities in the East Valley here in Maricopa County. Industry organizations that may be out there. We see some emerging sectors of our community, particularly healthcare in the East Valley has just exploded over the last 5 years. And maybe we could, work with some of those industry organizations. And we also had an idea of looking at the political subdivisions, for instance, legislative districts, and maybe we could partner with members of both parties in those legislative districts to bring some folks together to advise in a more general sense on directions for economic development, the role of the community college in fostering economic development in our communities.
Great, thanks for that. I think the biggest challenge for all of you is how do you leverage these resources and really what's next? I mean, we just have barely begun this conversation, and since Otis has gotten you all together, I think it's his charge to really figure out what's next. How do you bring the community college together? How do you take the best practices, share those amongst the community colleges, and really come up with a unified approach to how entrepreneurship in the community colleges, along with the SBDCs, can really make a bigger impact. So. Thanks for your time, folks, and hope it was worth your time to have these conversations. And Otis, thanks again for having me.
Thank you, Tim. Give him a hand. I wanted to just mention in closing, just a closing thought. We were talking about this at the table a minute ago, and that's this idea of cooperation. I travel pretty frequently, and I talk to faculty from all over the country, and our ATF articulation system amongst our community colleges is probably the best in the country, period. We all are, give yourselves a round of applause. It is extraordinary. We sit together in our ATFs. We deal with the universities. Some are easier than others. I'll trade you mine. And in dealing with them and in working with each other, we come up with curriculum that transfers and articulates so that the students get the best deal all across the state, no matter where they're from. And we've been doing this for years. So to move into this space, we already have the model. We already know how to work together. We do it all the time. And I'm looking forward to the conversations with y'all later on. Mike, if I could go ahead and close out. Our next steps are that we'll be contacting you and talking to you about three things. One is, what are you planning to do? Two is, how can we help? And three is, what resources do we know about we can help bring to your table? So this is going to happen in the early spring. And then during the year, we'd like to track the efforts of the colleges. And my goal is that we come back in a year and we have another summit. And we talk about what we've accomplished in that year and the programs we've built and the things that we've done, and we share those ideas with each other. Does that sound like something you would be willing to commit to? I would like for this not to be the only one of these. I would like to see this as the beginning of something more like our own ATF for entrepreneurial colleges. How's that? I haven't made that up yet. I'll work on it. So our next event this evening, you have a break, a big break, is we're going over to Gateway Community College. There is an open bar. It's dangerous to say. There is also a delicious dinner and a tour of their amazing incubator, business incubator, with comments and some. Jasper is going to be back, and he's going to talk a little bit. Jeff, who I don't think is here anymore, is going to talk about how the CTI operates and the idea behind it and the concepts behind it, which some of you may want to look at in terms of your own campuses and what you're trying to do. And a good tour of the facility and see how a modern, well-established incubator was put together. The bus will be here. Where's Delin? We have a bus leaving here to go there. May I see a schedule? When does the bus come, Michael? North Curve. At 4:30, assemble at the North Curb at 4:30. Go where the crowd is. And we'll take the bus over. Right. Now, our final speaker this evening, to top this off, is from the Arizona Commerce Authority. And I will let Corey has all the information.
Prior to that, we'll take a 15-minute break because there's blondies, brownies, and cookies, all desserts, out on the back door. So we'll take a quick 15-minute break and we'll come back and have the mic set up.